Ooh. Welcome. This is From Beyond the Pain, an Illinois basketball podcast. And guys, before we even do anything, we gotta crack a beer. Gotta crack it. Holy shit. Oh man, yeah. That was stressful. That was fun until it wasn't fun until it was fun again. Right? Or actually, what part of that game was ever fun? I don't know. Maybe I had too high of expectations coming to today. I don't know. We'll talk about it. Let me know what you think in the chat. Let's start with Illinois defeats Nebraska 87-84 in overtime at State Farm Center in Champaign. Illinois 10.5-point favorites today. Only win by 3. Had a 10-point lead late. About 3 minutes to go. They blow the lead, give up the lead. Marcus Domask makes a free throw. Could have won the game if he made both, but go to overtime and somehow outlast Nebraska. Yeah, that's the quick sum up. All right, if you didn't see the game at all. All right. If you're on YouTube, man, please hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're just tuning in for the first time, I really appreciate it. Trying to get to 500 subscribers before the end of the college basketball season. All right. So I appreciate all the support y'all been giving. I'm sure people are, despite the win, I'm sure people are pissed, annoyed, have many questions. So would love to know your thoughts about this game. So let me know in the chat. I know you can leave comments on all 3 platforms we're streaming from right now, but would prefer you all to come to YouTube. That would be what I would prefer you all to do. So yeah, let me know how you're feeling about this game. I guess we can start with the good. No, let's start with the bad. We got to get the bad out first, right? Also, go follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, Cody_CHGO. I think I got it all out there now. Okay. Let's start with the bad. Starting with the bad. I don't even know where to start. Okay. You were 10.5-point favorites. And again, it's Vegas. Vegas sets the line, 10.5. You're getting a Nebraska team at home. You had a handful of days off. You played Tuesday? They last played Tuesday. 10.5-point favorites, or maybe it was Wednesday. It was Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever. You played a 5:30 tip, so it wasn't early on a Sunday. I feel like those games always go one way or another for Illinois. You got a 5:30 tip, and I feel like Illinois really never had control of this game. Just when I thought they did have control of the game, they blow a 10-point lead and were forced to go watch this game for another 5 minutes. The bad, okay? Illinois was 9 of 34 from 3. They jacked up 34 threes. And honestly, I'm not even mad that they jacked up 34 of them. It's just, if you're going to jack up 34 of them, you got to make more than 9, bro. You got to make more than 9. You missed 10 free throws. You went 10 of 30 from the free throw line. Hell, it could have been 22 of 30 if Terrence Shannon just makes the last 2 to ice the game. And thank God Tominaga's half-court heave doesn't go into the basket. You got 14 turnovers, which honestly is pretty high for them considering their last handful of games. I feel like they haven't turned the ball over at an extreme rate like this in a while. This was the first time I feel like they did that. 14 turnovers to their 9, so they win the turnover battle. So you shoot 26% from 3. You miss 10 free throws. You turn the ball over more than they do. You do all that, and somehow, some way, you still win. And the reason that you won is because you dominated the paint. You won 40-26 in the paint. You had more assists. You had more steals. You had more blocks. You shot more free throws than them. You had more shot attempts than them. I guess I'm now mixing in the good. But let's just be real. They won because they dominated the paint and they dominated the rebounds. They won the rebounding game 50-33. They dominated the boards. They dominated inside the paint. Nebraska was hot from outside, right? Keisei Tominaga, bro. Keisei Tominaga. Drink. Dude's a dog. Dude is a dog. And you knew in some aspect that he was going to come out there and finally have a game because he had been struggling his last handful of games. I felt like it was coming, but part of me felt like it was a bad matchup for him. Illinois guards, all bigger than him, more athletic than him. But it don't matter when you shoot 5 of 7 from 3. For a lot of the game, I really just gave Nebraska a lot of credit. Like, I felt like they played as good a game as they could. Honestly, the game gave me like the Northwestern game vibe where Boo Buie had the game of his life. And the only way that Northwestern was going to win that game is if Boo Buie had the game of his life. Keisei Tominaga had what I would call the game of his life in any shape or form if they were going to beat Illinois today. And they absolutely could have. I mean, they did lead in the final like 30 seconds after Illinois blew the lead, and thank God Marcus Domask got fouled and the ref actually blew it. And then, the game wouldn't have even gone to overtime if he just would have made both free throws, right? But he made one. You went to overtime. Mast was also good for them, 22 points, 8 of 21 from the field. So he missed a bunch of chippies as well, but he was 4 of 9 from 3. He's really good. We've been getting dominated by bigs in recent games, so I felt like he was going to have a game. I honestly thought he was going to have a better game than Tominaga did, and then Tominaga said, "Hold my beer," right? So, I don't know, man. The bad just is the fact that you had a 10-point lead with 3 minutes to go, and you just didn't do the necessary things to close out the game. Whether that's making free throws, whether that's like just not being stagnant at the offensive end. I feel like they'll pass the ball around and then the ball stops and then it ends up in Shannon's hands and then they ask him to go get a shot. And Shannon, he didn't shoot the ball well today. He had 18 points, but it took 16 shot attempts for him to get there. Should have had 20 if he made those last 2 free throws he got at the end of the game, right? He didn't, to me, he was effective today. He got the big steal at the end to avoid them even, having a chance to tie it. I'm not saying he had a bad game, but he didn't shoot the ball well today. And he took 10 threes and only made 3, At what point do you realize like, hey, maybe I should step in a few steps and, I don't know, take a mid-range shot or go to the basket, try to get a foul that way. He's 3 of 6 from the free throw line. Someone in the chat brought up Luke Goody. Where you at? Also, I recognize you all in the chat. I'm going to get to your comments. But check it out, 7. Luke Goody had a tough day. Yeah. 19 minutes, 0 of 6. 0 of 6 from 3, 8 rebounds, 1 turnover. Whatever about the turnover. Look, he had a few offensive rebounds off missed free throws. And that's basically my highlight for Luke Goody in this game. And his role is he's got to hit outside shots. He's got 6 attempts from 3, didn't make any of them. Tough shooting day, right? But it was a tough shooting day for the entire team. Justin Harmon, 0 of 5 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3. He did hit 2 big free throws late in that overtime. But overall, probably didn't even really warrant 18 minutes off the bench. Goody played 19 minutes. I mean, they both combined for 4 points, and they played almost 20 minutes each. You just didn't get much out of anything. You didn't get much of anything from them. The best player off the bench today was Dane Danger, who played 9 minutes, 6 points, 3 rebounds. And he was part of kind of Illinois going on that little bit of run there in that second half. That kind of gave them the lead and, what led to them having a 10-point lead with 3 minutes to go. I don't know. Listen, I'm I'm annoyed with how this game ended. But I have my fan glasses on here. But I honestly just want to give Nebraska a lot of credit. I really do. I really do. And also, like, I'm not going to take back what I said on my last show where I said I'm giving the entire month of February for this team to start gelling the right way going into March. That's not to say that I'm giving them a pass for blowing a 10-point lead in the second half with 3 minutes to go. But we knew coming into this game they weren't playing their best basketball. Yeah, they weren't playing their best basketball, but they had won 4 of the last 5 games. Now it's 5 out of 6. At the end of the day, they won the game. Now I'm giving you a mix of the good, right? At the end of the day, they won the game. Bad teams would have found a way to lose that game. Michigan would have found a way to lose that game easily. I just want to give Nebraska a lot of credit. I mean, they came into a road environment that's tough to play in. They've probably just been hearing nothing but negativity about how they suck on the road. They're coming off the big win against Wisconsin, and they came to play today, man. Like, I felt like there were plenty of moments where Illinois had a chance to extend a lead or whatever, and they would, but then Nebraska would just come back down and hit some crazy ass shot. I felt like they made a bunch of crazy ass shots today. They shot 12 of 28 from 3, man. That's 42%. That's solid. Tominaga 5 of 7. Mast 4 of 9 from 3. They made all their free throws. They didn't even shoot as many free throws as Illinois. They shot 14 free throws, man. Largely because it was tough for them to even go to the paint because Illinois is just bigger than them, right? So the good is the fact that they dominated the paint. They dominated the rebounding. And at the end of the day, their best players made plays when they absolutely had to. I think that's my biggest takeaway. Those are my 3 biggest takeaways. Terrence Shannon got that steal to not allow them to even get a shot up, basically. He almost allowed them. He ended up basically allowing them anyway since he didn't make free throws. But I'd rather them have to take a half-court 3 that would have literally just sent it to second overtime than get a regular shot on their end of the court. So, yeah, that's how I feel. Let's get into the chat, and then we'll continue. Victor Turla thought the offense got stagnant down the stretch. Also, a lot of ISO ball, all the good cutting and passing that got the Illini a 10-point lead stopped. And I agree. Absolutely agree. And how do you blame coaching for that? People who are going to be mad at Brad Underwood in this game. I just feel like it comes down to execution. It comes down to execution here. Like they were doing the same thing every time. And like, I don't know what else I don't know what else to say. I was listening while I was getting the stream set up and everything. I was listening to the Big Ten Network like post game, and one of them said something along the lines of they were playing like Illinois was playing hero ball at the end, and it's like you didn't need to play hero ball with 3 minutes to go and a 10-point lead. You just needed to play good offense and continue to do what you were doing in that second half. Why they stopped, I don't know. What got them to be more stagnant on offense, I'm not really sure. I'll give Nebraska credit for playing tough defense, but man, if you make your free throws, we probably aren't even talking about this at the same time, you know? But I agree, Victor. Check it out, 7. Tominaga was off the hook. Hope to see Nebraska in the tournament. I hope we don't see Nebraska in the tournament. I don't, but they are. I think people just need to give Nebraska some credit. They're good. They're a good team. They didn't like, I understand they have struggled on the road, but part of the narrative, you want to go through the narrative of the fact that they have struggled on the road. I went in today thinking that Illinois was going to roll easy. You listened to yesterday's podcast I did with Mike Carpenter from the 200 level podcast. We both were like, oh yeah, I feel really good about tomorrow's game. I feel really good about them winning by double digits because it just feels like a really good spot for Illinois and a bad one for Nebraska. The emotional letdown after a win like that against Wisconsin, going on the road where they have struggled, and Illinois coming off the win against Ohio State back to your home floor, feels like a good spot for Illinois, right? But if you flip it, Nebraska also, again, coming off the huge win over Wisconsin, taking that momentum into this game. And it looks like they did. And also that win that they had over Wisconsin, Tominaga didn't even have that good of a game. He finally broke out, and he was due to break out. He's a good basketball player. He hit some shots that, like, I don't know what else you got to do to get him to not make them. I just give him credit. So again, I hope Illinois doesn't see Nebraska in the tournament, but I do think they're a tournament team. They got to win some games on the road, no doubt, though. Victor says Nebraska's big guy mass was pretty solid too. Yeah, rebounds were huge. Victor says Tominaga was insane. Shannon played pretty much solid defense on him for the most part. Yeah, I thought so. I thought that they played as well a defense as they could against Tominaga. I really do. And he somehow put up 31 and went 9 of 14 from the field. I don't know. Check it out. 7. The Illini shouldn't beat themselves up. Nebraska's tough. They beat Wisconsin. Yeah. I mean, it's not like this isn't like how they almost lost to Indiana. There's no way. There's nothing like that. He also says winning close games is good practice for March. Yeah. I mean, they blew that 10-point lead, but again, they did win the game. Did you watch the Purdue-Wisconsin game today? Purdue tried to blow the game multiple times, right? Like, this is just the state of college basketball, man. Every team every team struggles at the end of games and close games. It's all about how you get out of there with a win. At least that's what it feels like, right? Oh, Victor, you make a good point here. Don't let Harmon inbound the ball ever again. Bro, when he inbounded the ball and threw it to Coleman Hawkins, oh my God. Terrence Shannon Jr. was like right there. He was right there. How do you not just throw it to him? If there is one thing that I will complain about, Brad, you had a timeout, bro. You could have called a timeout. You could have. And I haven't listened to Brad's post-game presser, so when I do the next show, I can go over that if he talks about this particular play. But in my mind, when that happened, when it went through my mind was, why are we throwing to Coleman Hawkins? And also, why are we not calling a timeout when you had a timeout? Did you want to save the timeout? I don't know. But I felt like Terrence Shannon Jr. was like right there. All you had to do is do a bounce pass to him or something. I felt like it was possible. At multiple times, this team almost gave the ball away on an inbounds. Like, they just did not close the game out the way that we've seen this team close the game out. And at the end of the day, that just comes down to fucking execution by the players. Dingus McCracken, my guy, should have dunked it at the end of the game. Yeah, I mean, he brought it out to just try to run the clock out. They fouled him, whatever. Sure, yeah. I feel like he should have dunked it too, now that you say that. I mean, it would have been a 5-point lead, and, whatever happens after that, you're probably still good, right? I was starting to dread when Goody was shooting. I mean, he's been shooting it pretty good this year. He's shooting about 41% from three this year. This is his first bad game, honestly, in terms of shooting the three. So hopefully he bounces back in the next game. Victor, thank you for bringing this up. Danger missed an open dunk. I mean, it was like little things like that. Like, every time I felt like Illinois could have really extended a lead, they just did something to hurt themselves, dude. If there's anything that's bad, it's that. It's that. But at the same time, again, I'm not leaning off the gas of Nebraska just deserves a lot of credit for playing the game that they did. Check it out. 7. So much parity in the Big Ten. Not sure if they are all good or I am drunk on Kool-Aid. probably drunk on Kool-Aid, man. This conference this year is definitely top heavy. And I think it's, 4 or 5 teams. It's Purdue, Wisconsin, Illinois, Nebraska, Michigan State, and there's probably another team. So maybe like 6 teams. I'm blanking on the other one. But those are for sure the ones off the top of my head. Lyndon Johnson is in the chat. Welcome, man. I feel like we were too hesitant behind the arc on catch and shoot opportunities. I mean, every time Guerrier got the ball and pump fake, drove, and then did nothing with it other than pass it back out for someone else to potentially shoot a 3, I want to pull my hair out. He had a better second half of the game. He did hit a big 3, I believe, in overtime, whenever he hit that 3. I just feel like when he is open in the corners or in the wing spots, he's got to let it fly, bro. He's got to let it fly. But I will say his second half was better than the first half today, and hopefully this is a confidence builder for him. Yeah, we got a lot of comments in the chat, guys. I appreciate y'all for hanging out. Victor, you bring up a good point here. Big positive. Rogers was a beast on the boards today. Let's talk about Ty Rogers. Ty Rogers is my guy. I love Ty Rogers. I love watching Ty Rogers play basketball, man. I mean, he had so many big rebounds, or there was one play in overtime that eventually led to Shannon turning it over, and I think Nebraska either went down and scored or got fouled and made free throws, whatever. But at the time when it happened, it was such a huge play. Illinois missed a shot, and the ball was going out of bounds. Not only does Rogers get it before it goes out of bounds, but is able to throw. I believe he threw it off someone from Nebraska, or he saved it and it went to another player, and it got Illinois another possession and a way to eat more clock off. And then unfortunately, Terrence Shannon freaking turns the ball over. But that's just kind of like an example of what Ty Rogers does and all of the good things that he does. He's really, really good. He's really good at basketball, bro. 8 points, 14 rebounds. He had 3 steals today, 2 blocks. I mean, he's all over the stat sheet in this one, man. He had 5 offensive rebounds. I mean, he's one of the players on this roster where you can go to or you can rely on to be productive even if he's not scoring. Right? So, yeah, no. Ty Rogers made a huge impact on this game, and he's been balling. Ever since the game against Purdue, he's been balling. I wish he would have made a few more free throws. He missed 2 of 4, but overall, he was great today. Lyndon also talking about Ty Rogers here. This was a Ty Rogers best rebounding game of the season. Felt like he was extremely scrappy tonight. Yeah, dude's a dog, man. He just does all the little things that normally you probably wouldn't even see in the stat sheet. You see it in the stat sheet tonight, but he plays so aggressive on defense, and I just feel like he makes such an impact on the defensive end, even if it doesn't show up in the box score sometimes. LFG, welcome to the chat, man. He says Terrence was held bad on that inbound. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at that. And I'm assuming you're talking about the inbound where Coleman or the one where Harmon threw it to Coleman. It led to a turnover in Nebraska going down there and scoring. Either you call a timeout there, or I think the safest play there was trying to get it to Terrence. That's just how I feel. Victor said Harmon almost turned the ball over again, inbounding from the baseline, but got lucky. The ball bounced back to him, and he got yes. That's I remember that too. And thankfully, he went down there and hit those 2 free throws. Right? Yeah. Harmon. I mean, he's like, what is he, like a grad student? Isn't he like a 4th or a 5th year guy? Like, he's older, man. Like, this team is old. Like, they were doing some uncharacteristic things here at the end of the game. Like they were doing some things that young teams would do. I don't know what was going on with this team today in the last 3 minutes. All right. So anyway, I see all your chats. I'll try and get to more of them, but continue to let me know how you feel about certain things. Again, Illinois wins 87-84, and at the end of the day, a win is a win. I'm chalking this one up as you got out of there with a win and you grew a little bit more today. You found a way to win a tough game. I think Nebraska is a good basketball team. I think that they are a NCAA tournament team. This isn't like I was concerned after the loss, or I was concerned after the win against Indiana, but Nebraska is actually a good team. And all I can say is I'm glad that that game was not played at Nebraska, because if that game was played at Nebraska, they were for sure losing that game. All right. So just take some solace in that, guys. That's like the best thing I can tell you. I'm not trying to sugarcoat things. There's obviously some things about this game that you can criticize. I'm sure there's some things about how Brad coached this game that you can criticize. Again, for me, and for Brad in this game, for me, as much as they were just hitting some really good shots, or some really, whether they're open or not, this team continues to struggle on pick and roll, it feels like. I mean, they didn't score a lot in the paint, but they were able to drive and kick a lot and hit some threes too. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Again, I felt like the defense was solid today overall, but man, even in those last 3 minutes, it felt like Nebraska couldn't miss, or they were getting whatever they wanted. The last 3 minutes of regulation, at least. So I don't know if it was just like the fact that they felt like the game was over and it just wasn't, but I don't know. To me, it feels this game is more on the players than it is Brad. So let me know what you think about that. Check it out. 7 has a good point here. Illinois still has more upside. They haven't fully gelled with TSJ back. And that's kind of like my big takeaway as well. Terrence Shannon Jr., he's been back for 4 games now. Rutgers, Indiana, Ohio State, Northwestern, and this is the 5th game. All right. I said I 5 games ago, before the Rutgers game, I said I give Terrence 5 games to get back to some sort of form that he was before the suspension. And I think we saw a more complete game from Terrence today. At least you saw him he did things in both the first and the second half. And I feel like it's been a tale of 2 halves for him so far, or he's just not been good, right? So that I will say that about Terrence, that he was it was a little bit more of a complete game for him, especially defensively. Got to hit shots. To me, shouldn't have been taking 10 threes, but whatever. Again, you win the game. Can we talk about Brad Underwood and his technical foul? That was one of the more funnier moments of the season for me. And apparently the ref cussed at him. I saw Jeremy Werner's tweet saying something about how the ref freaking cussed at him when he got the technical foul or something like that. I don't know. I just thought it was hilarious. Listen, I think that he got that technical because they didn't call a foul for Shannon on a fast break attempt or whatever. He's going to the hoop, downhill, whatever. Didn't get the call. Nebraska comes back down. I believe they scored or whatever. And then Brad Underwood got it. Got a technical foul. Coaches, players had to hold him back. It's one of those things. Listen, I think that was one of those where he's just doing what every coach in college basketball is doing. I'm not going to complain about the refs in this game because you had more free throw attempts than Nebraska, like almost double. Like they had 14 and you had 30. There's no reason for us to complain about the refs, in my opinion. Sure, perhaps you could have called some fouls at the end of the game that, could have helped Illinois just win this game in an easier fashion. But again, if you just make free throws, the ones that you were given, we're not talking about how they almost blew the game. They just that's just how I feel about it. I agree, LFG. I agree. We can't win and complain like Purdue fans, folks. We just can't do it. We can't do it. Purdue's lost 2 games this year, and all they do after their wins is go on Twitter and tweet screenshots of all the times that Zach Edey's not getting a foul. Illinois had 30 free throw attempts today, guys. Make your free throws, bro. Make your free throws. And so for the most part, especially during the month of December and the early part of January, I felt like they were doing pretty well at the free throw line. You go back and look at some of those box scores, and I feel like the free throws, attempts, and makes were solid. But man, it feels like they've just been on a little bit of a bad stretch here when it comes to free throw shooting. They got to start making free throws, man. Like, there's no way you're going to win in March when you miss 10 free throws. No way. Okay, this isn't, I see y'all in the chat. This is not a hate Purdue session, but if you guys want to continue to do it, go ahead. I'm not, they're cracking me up though. All right. So anyway, I just thought the technical foul for that Brad Underwood got, it was the first one of the year. It is what it is. I like when he sticks up for his players, man. I think everyone likes when their coach sticks up for their players. Of course, opposing fans will just say they're crying, blah, 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 this or that. But at the same time, like, for me, in this instance, it's like, you know, doing what coaches do. That's why he's my coach. All right. So I'm again on this game, I'm just content that they just pulled it out, man. If they had blown the 10-point lead in regulation, say they blew the 10-point lead in regulation, they hit that bucket with like 30 seconds or whatever it was, and then Illinois comes down and Domask doesn't get the foul call. We're sitting here with an L, and we're talking about how they lost or how they blew a 10-point lead in the final like 3 minutes of the game, right? On a day where Wisconsin lost and you had a chance to move up in the Big Ten standings. And it would have been at home, right? So I guess the question is, are we concerned? Are we concerned about Illinois moving forward? I will tell you if I'm concerned about Illinois once we get to March. And I'm not talking about the NCAA tournament. I'm talking about, you know, how they're playing at the end of February, right? They're 8-3 in the Big Ten now. This is their first game in February. They got Michigan. They go to Michigan State next Saturday. They got a whole week to prepare for Michigan State, who they've already beat. Then they come back home, play a bad Michigan team. Go to Maryland. That will be tough because this team's kryptonite is Maryland. Then you go to Penn State, where they're kind of scrappy. They beat Indiana the other day on the road, but they're not good. You should beat them, especially by February 21st. Hopefully you are starting to gel finally, like we all are hoping that happens, right? Then you host Iowa on the 24th, and on the 28th, you host Minnesota, who's been pretty scrappy this year. Beat Northwestern yesterday. So you've dominated Minnesota in recent years, but they also haven't been good. This year, they're not an NCAA tournament team, but they are better than recent years. So I feel like the schedule is, in general, kind of soft, but you go to Michigan State. If you win that game, great. If you lose it, it's probably not, I still wouldn't consider it a bad loss because Michigan State is better than what their record says, in my opinion. Then you get Michigan. You go to Maryland, where, who knows, maybe it's a revenge spot. Maybe you fall on your feet or fall on your face again against Maryland. I hope not. I'm not looking forward to that game. And then you got 3 teams that aren't good to close out February in Penn State, Iowa, and Minnesota. So How will they be playing in those last 3 games of the month? Kind of tells me, will kind of give me an idea about how much better this team is then or going into March compared to now on February 4th. So I understand frustration. I understand concern, but I just feel like they're still like trying to just get some of that continuity back before Shannon hit that suspension. And maybe that's a bad excuse. Maybe I shouldn't be given that excuse. Maybe I should be criticizing Underwood more because it hasn't happened. But they're winning. They've won 5 of 6. They've won 5 of 6. And Nebraska's a good team. That's just how I feel. Okay. Back to the chat. What do you guys got? Max says Illinois has more astronauts than Purdue. I didn't know that. Thanks. Beta, I can't say your name. I don't know how to say it, but one of you are asking if they're holding TSJ back. I don't think they're holding TSJ back. I just think TSJ is just trying to get that, like I said, just get continuity back, right? Victor, stinks Illini only play at Wisconsin once this season and on the road. Yeah, but I still look forward to that game because I just think Illinois matches up well against them. I love Domask, but I don't know. He should run point guard. Oh, he says, I don't like Domask running point. The thing is like this team doesn't have a true point guard. So Domask is going to bring the ball up more often than not. And then it's a clear thing that has been an issue all season, right? But they've found a way to just like not let it become a thing, right? I think in those last 3 minutes, if you have a true point guard on the roster, perhaps you're not having these issues. Now, I guess I should say if you have a true point guard on the roster that you trust, because clearly Brad Underwood isn't going to put Nicolo Moretti out there with 3 minutes to go in the game and, the game on the line. Same thing with DGL, who I thought played good minutes tonight. I mean, I think at the end of the day, when we get into the NCAA tournament and however far this team goes, if this team doesn't go to, a Sweet 16, Elite 8, whatever, Final Four, I think it could be just because they don't have a true point guard. And I will say that only if more games like tonight happen, like finding ways to almost – in this case, you almost blew it, but finding ways to blow games at the end because you're just not getting into your offensive sets. You're not getting good shots. You're not helping other guys get good shots. It's almost like they just trade off. Coleman, Terrence, Marcus, they're just trading opportunities for each other. They just give it the ball to one of them and they're like, hey, you go do this, right? And when you have a true point guard, you aren't going to have that issue. So this is something that I think Brad Underwood's going to look at, and we'll see how they respond, man. They have a whole week to prepare for Michigan State, a whole week. So I'm already really intrigued to see how they come out and play on the road against Michigan State in what will be a hostile environment, undoubtedly, right? So, let's see here. Victor says, I will give Underwood credit today for making halftime adjustments. It was clear he told the team to attack the basket and stop settling for threes, and Illini went on a run. Yeah. That run they started in the second half was huge, right? I mean, they kind of closed the first half in a good way. They were down, 6 or 7 points with about 2 minutes to go, and they got consecutive stops that went with baskets and cut it to like one possession. Had a chance to at least tie it going into half, didn't, but still, you felt like you're going to halftime with some momentum. They come out, get hot immediately. They get it inside, and it led to a few open threes from Coleman and Terrence, and you felt like the offense was starting to really gel. and like get it going. And I feel like we see glimpses, right? There's just like since Terrence has came back, it just hasn't been consistent, right? And like that, they're just got to keep working on it, man. Like that's all I can say, because before he got suspended, this team was lethal, not only offensively but defensively too. And I just feel like they show glimpses of being really good defensively, and they show glimpses of being really good offensively, but just for a full 40 minutes, there just isn't enough consistency. They need more consistency on both ends. And what's crazy to say is that if you go on to KenPom, this team is ranked 6th in offensive efficiency, guys. 6th. Yesterday it was 5th. So someone hopped them today. But yeah. LFG, Tominaga eats corn on the cob the long way. Come on, brother. This is a PG podcast. I'm just kidding. I cuss all the time. Gregory Helton says, "In Daddy Brad we trust." Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. I will ride with Brad. I'm riding with Brad no matter what, guys. No matter what, I'm riding with Brad. All right. But we can also acknowledge that, sure, he has his moments. You want to put some blame on him for the last 3 minutes of the game? Sure. I mean, I put it mainly on the players because you just got, like, they're the ones out there you got to execute. I feel like, he put them in a good position and they just didn't execute. These out of bounds plays, the inbound, just simply inbounding the ball. This team is too experienced and too old to be doing that. What other game this year have they done that at the end of the game where they've just completely lost all poise? It feels like. I can't name another game where it feels like that's happened, where they've tried to just give the ball or give the game away. I mean, Brad said it himself in that post game with, I think it was Robbie Hummel right after the game, saying that we did everything to lose the game, but they won the game, So, I don't know. I'm going to listen to Brad in his post-game presser probably after this, and we'll do another podcast maybe midweek, talk about the Michigan State game, maybe talk a little bit more about this game, talk about the rest of the Big Ten, all that stuff. But I'm just glad they came out with the win, man. That would have been a brutal loss. That would have been a brutal loss, and at home. If there's definitely a negative to this, it's just that you almost blew a 10-point lead at home. Like you are in your environment. You should not be putting yourself in position for that to happen, right? But on the flip side, it's like, but you still won the game. So look at it however you want to look at it. I'm choosing to look at it as they won the game, because I've watched a lot of bad Illinois teams in the past. I'm a Chicago sports fan. Seen a lot of blown leads, seen a lot of games blown. Whether it's baseball, basketball, football, watching Chicago sports, I've endured a lot of pain, guys. Sometimes it's just nice to win one. It's just nice to win one. All right. So that's the way I look at it. Okay. So, like I said earlier, Illinois is now second in the Big Ten, tied with Wisconsin, 8-3, both a game and a half back of Purdue. And Mike Carpenter was on the podcast yesterday as we previewed this game. Purdue beat Wisconsin today. Their schedule is fairly easy the rest of the month. They get Indiana, Minnesota, Ohio State, Rutgers, and Michigan. Let me say that again. Indiana, Minnesota, Ohio State, Rutgers, and Michigan. The rest of February. That's a soft-ass schedule the rest of this month, man. So am I saying that, yes, Illinois, if they want a chance to win a Big Ten title, they need to basically not lose the rest of this month? Yes, that's what I'm basically saying. I don't think Purdue is going to lose in February unless some sort of magic happens between them and IU learns how to make threes and like just I doubt that happens. They just lost to Penn State on Saturday. They fucking stink, bro. They call themselves a blue blood school. What the fuck? Minnesota, maybe. Like they're scrappy. They've shown that they can beat some good teams. They just beat Northwestern yesterday. You know, like it's the Big Ten. Anything can happen. But man, it just feels like Illinois can't lose another game this month, right? Of course, in March, Illinois is going to get a chance against them. They got to play Michigan State at home. Could potentially be a trap game, right? Then go to Illinois, and then they close the year against Wisconsin. So March is obviously a lot tougher, right? But, I mean, when you look at Illinois' schedule in February, I just see Michigan State and I see Maryland. Those are the two games that I'm afraid of. Would I like that game against Purdue in March to mean something for the a Big Ten regular season title? Yes, absolutely. Of course. But I'm also okay if it's not, because if you just focus on March, I'm fine with that too. Because I think we all would rather, I guess the question is, would you rather have a Big Ten title or would you rather get to the second weekend in the NCAA tournament? We won a Big Ten title already, won a Big Ten tournament title. Just haven't got to the second weekend, right? I'd love to have both, right? Can I be greedy? Can I have both? I think we're all leaning that we'd rather have the second weekend if you're forced to choose one, right? So I guess if Illinois does go on to perhaps lose to Michigan State next weekend or lose to Maryland or, you know, lose to fucking Penn State on the road, like some stupid game that will be if that happens. Like, I guess we can all just then focus on March. So I'm reading your chats. Victor, Nebraska did a good job showing help/doubling on the Domask booty ball today. I agree. Wasn't as easy for Domask to score out of the post today. I agree. Yeah, he missed a few layups early. He got it going in the late in that first half. Hit a three today, which was nice, but man, I wish his 3-point percentage would go up some so teams would stop going under the screen on him. But despite his lack of 3-point shooting this year, he just continues to be so effective. That little turnaround fadeaway three, or not three, but turnaround fadeaway like 15-footer was just chef's kiss. It was a beautiful shot, and it was a big moment too, right? He hit that. That's like right before Nebraska went on that run, right? So, he continues to be a savior for this team. I will say it like again and again. No one expected him to be this good. He's turned himself into a Illini legend in less than a year. So, yeah, no. How was SIU not an attorney last year? Bro. Dude, don't sleep on the Missouri Valley. I have a buddy who went to SIU. In the last 2 years, we've talked about going to Arch Madness. I want to go to Arch Madness this year. I think that the Missouri Valley Conference is so fun to watch. Check it out. 7 says, seems like Brad doesn't not trust his bench. I can see why after today, besides danger. Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see Hansberry a little bit. He came in that last game against Ohio State just because he would have been able to stretch the floor a little bit. He's got that 3-pointer. But, yeah, I mean, Harmon had been playing pretty well for the most part. Not a great game today, though. Goody, I expect him to bounce back. He's a better shooter than 0 of 6 from 3. I think the bench will be better than this. Again, if Goody hits 1 or 2 threes in this game, we're probably not even in overtime, bro. They went 9 of 34 from 3, and a lot of those 3-pointers were open, right? Hell, Nebraska played a zone because Illinois couldn't make threes. Illinois takes a ton of threes and is a good shooting team most of the time. And they were shooting so bad today that Nebraska was like, we're going to a zone. I don't know. So Brad always says that he wants them to shoot threes, but obviously they got to be better at it. They can't shoot like that consistently. And I feel like for most of the year they have been better than that. So I look forward to seeing how this team plays against Michigan State after quite literally basically a week off. Get to watch some film from this, take from it what you learned from it, and take whatever you learned from it into this game against Michigan State next week. So, and it'll be a big one. On the road at Michigan State, a Michigan State team that's been playing better. Michigan State is fifth. Yeah, they're fifth in the Big Ten, 6-5. They play a tough game against Maryland on Saturday. I took Maryland to cover 7, and those motherfuckers covered for 36 minutes and then choked it away. Lost by 9. I was pissed. But yeah, Michigan State's won 1, 2. Well, they've won 2 straight. They got blown out at Wisconsin, but before that, they had won 1, 2, 3. They had won 3 in a row before that, so they've won 5 of their last 7 since the last game against Illinois. They have really good guards. They don't have any big guys though, so I expect the Illinois to take advantage of that. And as long as they can slow down their guards, I mean, Hogard had a great game against them, in Champaign. So if they can slow down him or Walker, I expect them to win. But it's going to be a tough one, and I'm going to be nervous. So at least I have a whole week to be nervous about it, right? All right. So anyway, that's about all I got for this one, guys. Again, a win is a win. Like it says down here on the black screen. We outlasted. Good teams win. Good teams find a way to win. Doesn't matter how ugly, how good it looks. Think about when Illinois was a 1 seed like 2-3 years ago, and it felt like they just found ways to win games no matter what. Io saved them so many damn times, whatever. And then things happened in March that you didn't expect. I just think that this team is just trying to find a way to be playing their best basketball in March. And in some ways, I think that this team can be better than that team, even though that team was a 1 seed. I genuinely feel like it can be. I think there's more depth on this team. There's more experience on this team. There's more NCAA tournament experience on this team as well compared to that team at that time. I genuinely feel like this team can be better than that team that was a 1 seed that lost to Loyola. So I'm putting my hope into something, and I know hope is a dangerous thing, but for fuck's sake, guys, we're sports fans. What else am I supposed to do? All right. So that's how I'm in the show. All right. Before you guys get out of here, please. And again, thanks to everyone who subscribed this weekend. Hit the like button and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Cody_CHGO. And again, probably maybe Wednesday, Thursday, come back, maybe kind of recap this game a little bit more, take a look ahead. Probably be a shorter one. Maybe I'll have a guest. I don't know what we're going to do. But anyway, I'll be back in the middle of the week, and I appreciate everyone's support again. And I will see y'all later this week. See you on social media, Twitter, wherever you follow me from, whatever. But as always, when I get out of here,